Well, welcome everybody to another edition of the RTI Bob and Chad show that we've been doing for quite some time now. We're almost up on a year. I don't know how many episodes we've done, but we've done 32, my man says, so that's pretty exciting. How are you today, Chad?
Doing good, trying to stay warm. It's 25 below when I got to work today, and it was kind of a rough day. We had a few employees that couldn't make it in because of the weather, and so we're trying to get through this last week of winter here. Hopefully this is one last week of it, and it starts to warm up, and we can start thinking about getting to the racetrack and seeing all of our friends.
Yeah. I'm still waiting on the electronics for my boat. It's really irritated me because I was thinking maybe that'd be in here by now, so I'd have something to be excited about because of the weather. Not just the racing, but that part of it. Oh, so we've got a special guest with us tonight, Pat Graham. Pat's a USRA stock car racer. He's run IMCA. He's run modifieds, run late models. Tell us about yourself, Pat. What have you been doing? And other than the fact that he was one of my employees 21 years ago.
We just had that discussion. It made both of us probably feel a little bit older.
Yeah, I was thinking when I was calculating that the other day, I'm like 21 years. Geez, maybe we shouldn't even talk about that.
Right. No, yeah, you're right.
You were just really young.
I was, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe not even legal age.
I mean, maybe,
maybe not. Child labor laws.
Yeah, probably.
So maybe that's what it is. But no, Bob and I go way back, and a long time ago, worked for Bob and with a great bunch of guys, and lucky to still call Bob a friend and help his seminar and do some other things back and forth. And still, I'm not in the race business anymore. But I do commercial property and real estate with that. But still racing, still enjoying it. And USRA stock cars and done some IMCA stock cars too. Still dabble in the modified stuff a little bit, but just really still enjoy racing. Bob asked me to come on, and I thought it'd be fun to see you guys and see what I can do.
Well, we've got our stock car school coming up here a week from this Friday and Saturday, and Pat's actually going to join us at the stock car school, kind of wanting to add more of a driver's input to part of it. Like we've always got Kelly to kind of go off of in our driver's part of it. But otherwise, like with Chad and Ben and I, we're kind of more on the technical side of it. And I think sometimes, it's just like when Pat first got here, I said, well, one of the things we're going to talk about is the driver's responsibility in this whole deal. And he kind of looked at me a little funny, like, well, I mean, I'm just not meaning like going out there and driving the thing and winning. I'm talking about what you have to do before that, And so that's kind of what our motto is going to be tonight is, from the driver's perspective and what the driver needs to be involved with. I know a lot of today's drivers are the ones that show up with their helmet and Suburban that they just got for their graduation gift or whatever the case is, and race. But what about the drivers that, I know you've done it all. I mean, changed tires, pretty much. And you don't actually go to the racetrack with a real huge crew.
I have one. I'm very fortunate. I have Dana Brugman that helps me,
yes.
and that's a big plus. But we don't have a lot of people other than that come with us. But kind of like we talked before we came on air, and Bob can reiterate more because he's had a lot of driver helping drivers and so forth. But and Chad can talk about it too. But just we want to discuss. Even when Bob asked me before we started on the driver's end, and I kind of had a blank look like, well, what do we have to do? Like, we have to drive the car. But it is so much more than that. And I know even Dana and I have only been together a few years. We've known each other a long time. But just finding that rhythm as to what I want to tell him or need to tell him and what he needs to tell me. And then, just the back and forth that, you can't always see what else is going on the track. One of the big things that I'm not giving out any secrets here, obviously, but using Race Monitor, I'm not using it obviously in the car, but Dana is, and and a lot of times, the best thing it can do is you can find out that somebody can say they were the fastest in their heat race, or their car was really good, and we're not going to change anything for the feature. And Dana can quickly tell me, Mitch Hovenden was half a second faster in his heat race right after you. So right away, you can think you're really fast. And then the other version of that is you can have some pretty good lap times, and you're like, we are pretty good with this setup. So that's just one little quick thing that we do a lot of times, is just compare the other heat races and see where you're at.
Yeah, you can feel fast until the stopwatch says you're not. And you're like, oh, geez, now what am I going to do? So, yeah, no doubt. First question, Chad, do you have a 5-inch spring cup kit, or do I have to buy each piece? If so, do you have a part number for the short and the drop cup? I'm assuming he's meaning with the bolt and everything.
Yeah, so we have combination part numbers for our old school spring cups, but not the new OD grab. So if you're referring to the new OD grab stuff, that is all a la carte. So you need to order the cup and the screw jack. So the short cup part number for the OD grab is a WM485S, and for the drop cup is a 485D, and then you would order your whatever 4, 6, 9 or 12-inch screw jack to go with that, which they're all a 288, and then the number, so 4B for bolt, 6B for bolt, 9B. So it's a la carte. We were in lengthy discussions about part number groups, and that would have added I don't know how many more combinations. So
No, this is a better way to do it.
my guys got to the point where they're like, seriously, we need to stop doing these kit numbers. And when you put an S and a T and a 5 and a 6, and you start goofing everything up. So unfortunately, those are a la carte. Order what you need, cup and screw jack.
Well, I like it that way from the vendor's side of it, because then when the guy orders it, you can ask what bolt length do you want, so you can send him the specific. A lot of times we were just stocking the 6-inch for the right front of the old style drop cup. Well, in some guys that 6-inch wasn't enough, and so then we'd have to send them a bolt and then get that bolt back. And this is just so much easier.
Right.
Chad, is in one of the previous videos you mentioned not to use a ball joint checker for setting caster. What is the inconsistent with doing it that way versus the old bubble gauge at the end of the rotor?
So when you're on the rotor would be camber. Putting it on we thought you could put your little digital like you got there on the counter. You got your little digital angle finder there? Yeah, so we thought you could put this on the spindle on our spindle checkers and check caster. But it was pointed out to me from an engineer that actually those little digital guys have a gyro in them. That's how they know the angle. Well, when you take that and you go at an angle backwards, but then also the inboard angle, it gets lost and it doesn't know where it is.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not getting an accurate number. So really the only way we can check caster now is with an old school caster gauge and do it the right way. That was really easy and really convenient and was going to make life so simple. But unfortunately, those are a gyroscope. So it's some sort of little ball in there. So that's how it knows the angle. And when you tip that multiple directions, it's lost and doesn't know where it is. So it's pretty easy to check that. You can take it and you can tip it on a flat table and then rotate it, and you'll see that the number isn't the same. So we no longer recommend doing it that way.
Well, it's like setting this on a round trailing arm. You're kind of moving it around back and forth, and you're getting multiple numbers, and you're kind of like, okay, where's that thing going to settle in it?
Yeah, they really only work when they're perpendicular to the world, and we're working on a tool that's going to fix that problem. So stay tuned.
Okay, so all of you just heard that. Another new thing that we need to keep bugging Chad about. What is this new thing that you're working on? Sean, Pat, it was great to help back in the day when you were at Harris Auto Racing. Yep, I remember, Sean.
Number 15, I think.
Yep.
I might be correct.
I
Hopefully.
think you're right. I'm not good with numbers. I used to be good with numbers. I'm not good with numbers. So anyway, back on this driver part of it, we talked about, well, and then did you see where my boy finished the other day?
Brett,
Yeah.
in the trucks,
No, I didn't
Bush.
do good in the truck, but in the
Bush.
nationwide series here, I ran second.
Yeah.
He said it was pretty nice to have horsepower this year. They got ACR engines.
Cool.
And he said the car worked really good. And he was pretty tickled with his finish because that's his first decent finish. The restrictor plate tracks have not really been his strong suit. He's just never seems to have the luck that it needs to have when it comes to a restrictor plate. Question, Chad, in previous video you touched on the spring tables on an asphalt car. Could you elaborate more on this? I run a modified with a 602 crate.
So spring table doesn't know what car it's on, doesn't know if it's on asphalt or dirt. The spring table works the same. It's basically when you're modified on the rear, go back to my cool drawings here that Billy made me. Which one do I got there? So this one's higher on the right, so this is bad. So spring table is measured from the ground to where it hooks up on the chassis. And when the right side is higher than the left side, that is bad. So it has to roll over the top. When the right side is lower, then it rolls easier over the top. So, and when they're the same height, that's kind of a neutral atmosphere. In the front, when you're on a screw jack style car, then it would be like on the front of your modified, it's where the screw jack is. So in a fixed member, it doesn't know where it's connected to the chassis. It only knows the tip of that screw jack. So this is actually a sport mod cup, but in a front swivel cup, if you have a top bearing cup like this or a drop cup, which I don't have one up here, but if the bearing's lower, then that's the spring table. So when it's, oh, look at Bob's got one. Attaboy. So when that pivot point or that ball is lower on the right front, that induces roll onto the right front, and when the right rear is lower than the left rear, that induces roll. So that's basically spring table. Jeff, the bearing is a 165 BO.
All right. What about where, I forgot to ask you at the school, and I was going to call you today, but the 5.5 inch cups are available now. Just the bearing is not.
Yeah, so this is the cup. We're working on the bearings. So we do have a couple we've been testing. We should have them. The production run is in line, so it'll be probably 2 weeks yet. Just before the season gets rolling. So,
all right. Kevin, when switching to a crate engine from an open engine, what are some of the setup changes to consider? Well, Kevin, you're gonna want to make the car a little bit more neutral. An open motor, you tend to have a little bit more. I don't know how I could actually say it. But your setup tends to be a little bit more rigid. You got more panhard bar in it usually. You got more angles in it. The crate motor, actually, when you get into the corner, if the car starts to get a little bit tight and you hit the throttle, it's just going to stay tight because you don't have the horsepower to actually break the car loose and turn it. But you're going to focus more on phase 2 of the corner, because with the crate motor, it's all about momentum. The cars tend to have to be freer. They want to roll down in the corner, turn a little bit more free on their own, and just spend a lot more time. As far as spring combinations, of course, it depends on the car. Like a GRT car, we send them out of here with a pair of 500s in the front, 225 right rear. And then all depends on where they're racing, what left rear we put in it. We've been anywhere from a 75-pound spring up to a 175-pound spring. Just depends on what your goal is there. But the biggest thing is you'll have a little less panhard bar in it. You want to be more neutral on everything. And you'll just find that you can't rely on the horsepower to do what it needs to do. You have to really rely on the car to do more of the work without the open motor. What's your opinion, Chad?
I think you hit it spot on. The open motor is going to be tighter, and the crate motor needs to roll free for sure.
Now, what's your experience? You've driven both of them?
I haven't driven the crate motor stuff much, mostly the open motor stuff. We had crates in the truck, so that was my crate experience. So not a lot of experience other than the one thing I was going to say just on the motor side, just from my short version or a year or two with the crates there is just, there's some engine things to be a little more cognitive of, engine temp, and they're a little finicky. Once you have everything set, they're good. But like Bob said, you definitely have less torque and less horsepower. So the car has to turn, the car has to be free, and it's momentum. So it's more of the stock car racing in a sense. In a sense, yeah. Yeah. So and then just depending on side bite and some other things, if the car needs to be freer. So I think just freer and getting the car to point number 2 and what you taught us at the school. So.
You bet. Blake, 2015 GRT IMCA car. What are your thoughts on running the left rear coilover on the back instead of the shock in the front and the slider in the back? To be honest with you, I think that setup is a little bit more inconsistent. You kind of need the shock in front of the housing to sort of help control the car getting in. When the rear end kind of starts to unwrap, that's really when that shock in front of the housing is kind of coming into play. Now, in some situations, when we've had a really dry slick show and had a pretty decent amount of power, we've actually used Chad's clamp bracket to mount the shock on the actual housing in front. But I've just not had great consistency with it being, both of them being behind. It has a ton of traction, but I just don't think the car is as consistent, especially if you're running a crate motor. If you're running an open motor, I still don't think it's as consistent as having it in the front. I think corner entry's a little bit sketchier with them both in the back. Is a 700-pound right front spring too much on a metric clip UMP cover? Probably not on a metric clip because your A-frame ratio is a lot more of a 50-50 type ratio. So I don't think that would be out of the ordinary. It's pushing enough. I mean, you might want to consider trying a 650 or even a 600 some night, depending on what the conditions are. Thank you, Donna. We appreciate doing this. We have a great time, and heck, I was all ready to do this last Monday night, and then I realized, oh no, I got another Monday night to go. Wes has got a question. What's the advantage to running the trailing arm ahead of the rear end versus bottom of the housing on a two-link car, mainly on a sport mod car? I'll let you address that one, Chad. You make both those style of brackets.
Yeah, so when you take that arm and move it up and closer to the center line, essentially you can run less angle to get the motion. So it's going to get the motion quicker and faster than being below the center. So a lot of we made it for Shaw. It's kind of been a Shaw trend, moving that bar up in front of the axle tube to get the motion, keeping in mind that you have to have a chassis that allows you to move the bar forward because you have a minimum length rule there. So it just allows for to get the motion easier and faster, and you don't have to run the bar straight up to get the motion. Then essentially when you are at attitude or coming off the corner, you're not straight up and down and not a pogo stick. So, and then when you apply fuel, you're on a pogo stick, and then you just have the tires. So it tends to carry the traction down the straightaway farther also.
Rick is on an asphalt. We try to get the car to roll on the left front. Would I want to reverse the spring table?
So yeah, then you're on the front end, you would have your shock mount on the left front lower than your right front, correct?
Yeah, you'd want to actually use like a drop cup on the left front instead of the right front. Chad, where would it be to run the W435 on a UMP car?
So the 435 Cup was David Stremme came out with that, or he was the one that we made it for. A couple guys were using it in UMP, and mainly all that does is raise the spring up to get trailing arm on the right rear so you can run the bulb of the shock up. Most of the cars right now run the bulb down to get trailing arm clearance to miss the spring. So this basically flips that over so you can run the bulb up, especially UMP cars when you can run the Schrader valve, and then that's down, really vulnerable with the dirt and the rocks on the right rear. So they just do that to flip the spring over and get trailing arm clearance on the right rear on the bottom there. It has nothing to do with spring table. We got people buying it thinking it's changing the spring table. It has nothing to do with the spring table. The spring table in a coilover atmosphere is where it's hooked up to the chassis.
On a sport mod with a soft left rear setup, wouldn't compressing that spring adversely affect the spring table? Should I use a shorter right rear spring to level it out? Well, the thing of it is, you got to remember, Michael, that when the car is actually on the racetrack, that 90% of the time that spring table would be accurate, because that left rear is still going to be higher than the right rear, because you're using that softer spring to get more height. So once you're on the throttle in corner entry, you're going to be above that. So I wouldn't change to I mean, you can try going to a shorter spring if you're having trouble getting the side bite out of the car. But I kind of think with that setup, and then if you drop the spring on the right, I'm afraid that might start to be getting difficult to drive. I'm afraid you'd be hooking the right rear with side bite, and then you're loading the left rear with spring, and when the car's going to go in, it's going to be tight, and then you hit the throttle, and it's going to be throttle tight. And I think it might be a little finicky to drive. Wes said thanks. Let's talk stock car stuff. Oh, I think that's a great idea. That's what we got the stock car expert here with us for. How do I get traction in snow in Texas? Oh, buddy.
Weight on the axle.
Yeah, weight on the axle. Yeah.
Kyle, he's probably already down in Texas waiting to get his race again. So
Yeah,
it's not,
'cause
it's not fair.
I heard the weather down there is pretty bad.
It's questionable. Well, let's throw it back to Chad. Chad, what's your number one item sold to the stock car guys? I can think of one that's a cool item.
Stock cars, we don't make a whole lot for them. Obviously, the spring cups and throttle pedal and steering arm or steering column mounts and some of that trailing arm bolt, the one that brings the.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, just explain that a little bit. The trailing arm bolt is a pretty cool one that you sell. You have one there? I put you on the spot.
I don't have one. Actually, that's been really hot and hard to keep in stock. But anyway, it moves the hex outside of the stub on the rear there where the trailing arm, so that you don't lose your socket in the frame rail, or some guys weld the socket to it. You can do that too, but it's just nice to not have to worry about that inside the frame rail on the rear. And then we also just did the same thing on the idler arms on the front for the Chevelle and Metrics. Is we brought the hex outside of the frame rail, so it makes it easier on the front also. But definitely a couple neat little trick bolts there for the stock car guys for sure.
Well, Kyle, let's hope that you're from the north, so you'll have a little bit of that snow experience when you're down there in Texas. Chad, how much does a bearing in a cup in a short spring versus long spring, short spring on the front of the car? I don't know if I read that correctly, but
So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, might need a little more intel there.
He's wanting to know is what the advantage of the bearing.
The advantage of the bearing is when the springs go through a ton of travel, having that bearing in there, you get springs twist. So it just gives that less friction through the motion and basically helps that spring maintain a consistent rate and not have so much friction on the spring.
And it would definitely be a whole lot better on that taller spring. You know, the shorter spring still is going to have friction on it, but it's not going to have as much spring to try to twist with the friction. Where the taller spring, once it gets friction on it, that spring's in there kind of trying to bow back and forth and doing all kinds of things. Where if you have the bearing, that's going to minimize some of that bow because the bow is coming from friction in the cup. And that spring would allow that to actually take some of that out of there. Gary, metric stock car with a 9-inch and account series, I'm assuming AFCO series 74s. What's a good mounting distance from the rear end to the top of the mount? Boy, that's boy, Gary, I'm not sure I can actually answer that question. If you want to email us tomorrow, I'll make sure and get that answer for you. I'll call my old buddy Paul. And
shocks are mainly just so you don't run out of travel, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't think there's a magic location. The biggest thing is you know, you want to kind of go with what you're traveling. Now, of course, you know, if you're in an IMCA car, there's a little bit of specifics on that left rear shock, but the biggest thing is you know, like the right rear, I always made sure that excuse me, if it's a 9-inch shock, I just as soon have 5 inches sticking out. Left rear, usually it used to be about the other way, you know, having only about 4 inches sticking out because the left rear, when it rolls, you're going to need more shock there. But I don't know if there's anything specific that they're doing, but I can sure find that out.
Just make sure probably when you email in that question, just let Bob know what sanction you're running or what rules you're running, just in case if it's USRA and IMCA. That would help with help with their answer.
Correct. What are your thoughts on a 16-inch soft 125 spring on the left and a 13-inch spring 200-pound on the right versus 2 16s on the IMCA stock car? Well, honestly, I would definitely run the 16-inch left rear and a 13-inch right rear. I like that combination better. I'm not a huge fan of the 16-inch right rear spring. Once again, the taller the spring, the more chance it has to bow and flex and kind of do some of its finky movements up there, where the shorter spring, I think, has more control. And I know with the modified stuff, we tend to run a shorter right rear just because of the actual spring material, and we don't want that spring bow to happen. Where the more spring you have, the more chance you have a spring bow.
And the spring table too, with the 13 versus the 16, right?
Yeah, and then your spring table, you know, the car's going to get on the right rear a little bit more. That's going to give you more side bite when it gets slicker. I know I've talked to some guys that they qualify with a 16-inch spring and then they run a 13-inch spring in the feature. That's one of their go-to changes that they do. And it does. And I asked the one customer that was telling me about that. I said, "Well, what's the advantage?" He said, "Well, I get more side bite with that 13-inch." Well, duh, it's the spring tube. How much of a difference from the OEM spindles to the 3-piece spindles? On the stock car part of it, I think the OEM spindle, or the 3-piece version of that, is an identical duplicate.
I think so. I mean, the 3-piece spindle is a nice piece, obviously, because you can replace just the arm of it and so forth. So I mean, the consistency of it, I think, and you're getting a straight one where if you're going to the salvage yard and getting OEM spindles, you once again we go back to Chad, you need to have a checker to make sure that you're putting on a straight piece because like Chad and Bob probably talk about any week in, week out, your front end parts need to be straight.
Who makes one of those spring checkers? Oh yeah, Chad does. Yeah, sure.
Right, exactly.
We have them on the shelf. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, at least you get, the new stuff that's coming, the 3-piece stuff. I was against that 3-piece stuff for a while, but the new versions of them, they're pretty good piece. One thing that I had a customer told me that Ricky Thornton had passed this on to him, that the bolts that are in the steering arm aren't strong enough. You actually need to use an Allen head grade 8 bolt in those steering arms, because if you get popped in the wheel, it can shear the bolts. But I mean, it came from Ricky Thornton, so it's got to be somewhat tested and proven. So, but anyway, that was an interesting comment that the customer was telling me. He said, well, now, if we buy it from you, does it have the good bolts in it? And I'm like, I don't know. It's the bolts that come with the spindle. Oh, they're not good enough. So I asked him why, and that's what he said. He said, I was talking to Ricky Thornton, and he made the comment that bolts were. Anyway, we're putting an open motor together in an IMCA modified for my brother with Z-Link. We briefly discussed the Z-Link during the 4-link class. It sounds like I would need a heavier right rear spring for the Z-Link than I run in my 4-link car. How much heavier do you think that we should start off with on a dry separation? Well, I mean, we've got some guys out there that are running unbelievably stiff for what I've been used to, but it definitely, the stiffer spring will get you more side bite. Without that, with it being on the Z-Link, the car, you're not going to have the upper link holding up the car, or it's also not going to be loading that spring. So in that case, since it's not loading the spring, I'm not super sure I would go a whole lot heavier. I would probably start with 25 pounds stiffer than what you normally would with the 4-link, and just kind of play it by ear and see. Because the thing with the Z-Link, you need the spring to hold it up. But the thing with the with the 4-bar car, with them both running ahead, that upper link is actually carrying quite a bit of spring rate in it. It's not spring rate, but it's carrying quite a bit of the load in that left rear. So you just have to try it. I wouldn't go super stiff at first with the Z-Link. I'd probably rather go stiffer with the actual 4-link myself, to be honest with you. What would the advantage be in switching from a Pinot spindle to the metric spindle? Well, the big advantage is you don't necessarily bend the spindles. You tend to bend the steering arms, which is a bolt-on piece. However, this is not something that you just bolt on. It takes different ball joints. The heights are different. So you would definitely want to talk with your chassis builder. You're probably going to need different lower ball joints in the car, because just how the center works with that to get the roll center and everything right, it's not just a complete bolt-on replacement. Focusing on the left rear, how do you decide between moving a bar up or down versus lengthening or shortening it? One is bite and the other is timing, but I don't know how they're correlated. Well, first, I would go to lengthening or shortening it would be my if I'm going to adjust something, I'm going to adjust the length of it first, because I'm not really changing timing. I'm actually just changing where the wheelbase is in the car. So the car is going to react to that change pretty easy. When you start changing heights, like raising the left bar up or whatever, then you're running into the fact that you got to be careful so it doesn't cam over because you have too much angle in it. You're not running zero indexing bird cages. So I would start with length. That's a quick, easy adjustment, and the car is going to notice the adjustment, and it's not going to be what we would call changing a bar height is going to be a fairly decent change that's going to change the car pretty much everywhere through the corner. Where when you're changing the length, it's going to probably actually affect the car a little bit more off the corner. What's all the hype on that left rear, light left rear spring in a stock car? The car that should have won Boone was on a 275 left rear. Well, Cody, I trust me. I'm with you on that because, in fact, Pat and I were talking about that when he first got here tonight about sometimes going back a couple of years and some of the old good old standard setups that make the car a lot easier to drive will help you a whole lot better than having a car. And the thing of it is, the guys that are running at soft left rear spring, there's way more to it. I mean, it's a total package between the shocks, the springs, and the right front and the left rear. It's a total different package, so it's just not something you can totally change. But you're right, the car that should have won, wouldn't surprise me about that 275 at all. On that type of racetrack, with it being that slick and stuff, not having all that movement probably would be a good idea. Sport mod. If I mount the rear brake calipers at 2 o'clock on the left rear and at 3 or 4 o'clock on the right rear, will that split affect anything? Will it react like an A-mod with the brake floater and keep the car hiked up? Or is it better to make sure that they are mounted the same? Well, I'd recommend mounting them the same, but it really doesn't matter. You can mount one upside down and one right side up, and the car's not going to know where those brakes are mounted. All they're doing is trying to stop the car. Wouldn't you say, Chad?
Yeah, the only time it affects motion is when you have a device hooked to it, like the brake floater, when you have the arm from the brake floater to the chassis and it's transferring the force through the arm, or when you have the brakes hooked to the suspension cage. So in a clamped up atmosphere, that thing could be at 12 o'clock and the left rear could be at 6 o'clock. All it's going to know is you're trying to slow down the car.
Chris, would you run the 5-inch spring on the stock car with the bearings on both ends? Go for it, Chad.
Yeah, so that's the great debate. Do you want it on both sides? And you can put it on the top and the bottom. You're just going to really want to be careful with that bottom one, getting it wet, washing the car, getting dirt in there. You're going to really need to babysit the bearings for sure and make sure they're clean, because we've had some stuff that come through the schools there and was pretty rusty, and it's definitely going to increase the maintenance on your race cars. But there's no doubt that top and bottom is better than just one. But one's really all you need when that spring's twisted. The motion, one's good enough. But if you want to run two, there's no harm in running two. It's just going to be more maintenance.
Hopefully you can see this well.
You got all rusty there?
I got all rusty here. This bearing actually does not work because it's so rusted. The bearings itself are so rusted. Hopefully you can see this. The bearings are so rusted because it just didn't get a lot of maintenance. And it was one of those deals where, and the thing of it is, this could have happened in 1 or 2 nights. I mean, with the bearing being in the bottom and you're washing it and water's laying in it, it's just an animal for rust. I mean, it's telling you to do that. Now, if I had the time with a stock car, now the advantage of running on our modified stuff with a slider is a double bearing anyway. It's got a bearing on the slider, then there's a bearing inside the cup besides. So I'd run them both, but you're going to have to lube this thing every day. I mean, it's going to be like doing a tire. It's just one more thing you're going to have to do. So
Yeah, and if you're coming loose on the left rear, you don't want to run the bearings.
no,
If you're running a stiffer setup and you're coming off that left rear spring, you really don't want to run these Torrington bearings, because when they slam down, you're going to probably crack them little washers, and it's not going to be good for lining those back up.
yeah, they need to have consistent load on them, because otherwise, if they're banging back and forth, it's just going to shatter it. What's the difference? What difference will there be with the bird cage being indexed into the right rear coilover versus being level, 4-link USRA mod? Well, keep in mind, indexing into the cage, all that does is make whatever action is going to happen actually be sooner. It's kind of like, you know, if you're at an angle and say this is my spring, if I'm already upward, it's easier to go up. If I'm flat, it's going to be a little bit more to try to lift it up. What's your opinion on that, Chad?
Yeah, for sure. So the clocking of the cage on the right rear or the left rear is simply timing out when you build that spring rate or stiffness through the suspension cage. So there's a lot of guys that'll run it level, and then they'll put index in when they want to be have more rate basically going into the corner sooner. So definitely a timing thing that can be tuned for sure. Everybody has their ballparks, and we recommend 0 to 1 on the right rear and left rear, 2 to 5 into the spring. So, but it's definitely something that guys tune. And when you get to the point where you can feel that, a couple degrees is a pretty good swing there on the index on the right rear on corner entry for sure.
Yeah, because when, if you were to go flat, it would just take a little bit longer for it to load. So you might not have that time. Jason is backing up the theory on the bolts are definitely an issue in the 3-piece spindles. So it's good to know. Like I said, I didn't know that. And thank heavens, that's good. Harvey, on your stock car program, what areas of the setup are key for you? I'm going to let you answer that one, Pat.
That's a broad question.
It is,
But
yeah.
I think I'm going to go back to a little bit of the seminar, and I think you brought it up a lot. But I think the key to the stock car is the same as any other racing program. I think it goes back to maintenance. I think getting the car back to a consistent place every week, whether that be scaling it, checking your shocks, and any other maintenance, the engine, chassis, and so forth. I think that's probably as far as the setup, just having it consistently done and doing your maintenance is probably at the top of my list.
Well, this is a prime example. Having this to do what it's supposed to do, and there's no possible way it can do it because it's all rusted up. And I know a lot of times, and that was one of the things that was mentioned in our last school, that people felt that I maybe spent too much time on the maintenance part. and maybe I did, but it's kind of my old school thing, doing this for 40 years and having the same questions asked fairly frequently, that it's all about the maintenance thing. If you spend the time doing the maintenance, I don't care what that $500 or $400 or $300 trick part was you bought. If this part's on your car and it's not doing your job, that other part's not really going to help. I mean, it's going to, if you're buying it from me, it's going to help me. If you're buying it from Chad, it's going to help Chad. I don't know it's going to help you much, but whatever. That's just, I got to be careful because that maintenance thing's a little bit of my deal. I try to drive home on because it's such a key factor. When you talk about making a 1/4-inch change in lead or trail, is that at the trailing arm or at the wheel? It would be at the trailing arm. A lot of times one turn on a trailing arm bar is 1/8 of an inch. So a lot of times if I'm working with a customer and he said, man, he says, the car is really, really good. I just wish I could get off the corner just a little better. Well, we go through the fact that, okay, well, when you're going into the corner, is everything good there? And, yep, it's good through the middle, yep. Then I'll actually put a turn of lead in the car, and I'll only go 1/8 of an inch. Because believe it or not, 1/8 of an inch, which when that thing is rear steering 2.5 inches, you wouldn't think that would make a bunch of difference, but it really can. I mean, it's how sensitive these cars are today. So, but in your original question, that is measured as the trailing arm. The bearings need to be lubed. Yes, they do. Okay, thanks. On a 3-link Pro Mod, is it always best to level the cages, or can you index them? What is your opinion? Do you know what a Pro Mod is?
The 3-links are clamped, so you're not going to index that cage because you're affecting the pinion angle. So generally, when we're talking about a 3-link car, we set the cages basically level, and then with 7 or 9 degrees of pinion angle, so that when you make a bar change on a 2-link car, then you can adjust the trailing arm and get that cage level. Then you know that after you make that bar change, that your pinion angle is right. So there is no indexing really on the 2-link cars.
Yeah, it wouldn't affect anything. Okay, Chad, is part number WM251-5A tall enough to use with the Torrington bearing on the older style ID drop cup? Seems to be shallow.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason we made that was when we went to OD grab for the lighter spring rates, and then also to put the bearing in there. So it's fine unless you're talking about the left front. Then you won't want to run that adapter on the left front if you're coming loose. So if you're concerned with if you're coming off the spring, then that adapter is not the right part to run there, and you wouldn't run the bearing there anyway. So. But it will fit on the other cups and is tall enough if you're staying in tension at ride height and throughout your travel.
Oh, and tonight's hat is compliments of my friend Laurel, and out of tribute to our good old buddies in Boonville, Indiana. I have no idea actually what year this hat was, but it's back in
like 95.
When I first started building shocks, I think. But anyway, so here's the cool hat. Thanks, Laurel. I appreciate it. Ben and all you other guys that are listening, this is going to probably cost you something for me wearing this.
I even had one of those.
Promoting AFCO shocks here. Brandon, is there and thanks again, Laurel. I appreciate the hat. Is there a measurement on where the weight jack needs to be moved when installing these new cups in the right front? Actually, we should have a measurement, and that's a great question. We actually don't. I've not taken the time. Have you?
Man, every race car is so different, but you need to. Screw jack as alignment is crucial, and I'm going to yell at Billy tomorrow and make these drawings. So that we can show this, but Bill, you have that awesome video that you guys did on Race Tech Info, so you subscribe to that. But having the screw jack lined up with the motion of the spring is just key to have that spring happy through travel and lined up. Anytime that is misaligned, you're going to bow the spring. You're going to make everything angry, and there's so many race cars that are either built for old school spring cups or a top bearing cup versus a drop bearing cup. So it's about communicating with your chassis builder also and making sure that there's some cars that can't run a drop cup because the way their car was built, it was for a top bearing cup. So when you put a drop cup in there and lower that point, it actually misaligns it. So it's really crucial to be open with your chassis builder and make sure that what their car was designed for too. And then if you want to make them better per se, if they were designed for a top cup, and you want to run a drop cup, go to them and say, if it's Bob, say, Bob, can you convert this screw jack over for me? And they'd be happy to realign it and smash it. Most of them have a spring that they collapse so that they can run it through travel and get it perfectly lined up. But that's so huge. There's so many race cars that are built wrong in the country, and it really affects how the car's handled.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And that's one of the things that, like you said, it's a good point, Chad. There's some cars we can't put a drop cup in just because of the way the A-frame mount is in there. There's not enough room. You'd have to actually cut the center of the A-frame mount out and then brace the A-frame mount off of the ends, kind of like what the old Harris cars used to be, to make that work. Is that there's not enough room in there to do that. So, but if you've got a car that's got the two Heim joint type A-frames, it can be fixed pretty easily. Stock car front shocks. Any advantage or disadvantage on mounting the shock in front of the control arm on an angle like most, or through the control arm or on top of the upper control arm? Well, I definitely wouldn't mount it on top of the upper control arm because the upper control arm goes at a different ratio than the lower control arm. You'd think it would be the same, but it's not the same. The idea behind the shock, of course, is to try to get the shock out as close to the ball joint as you can. I don't see an advantage or disadvantage other than clearance as far as how the car is going to function if you're in front of the A-frame or in the center of the A-frame. I don't see that being a big deal, but you definitely are going to want to have it so that when the shock, if at all possible, when the car rolls, it's kind of like the spring. When the car rolls, you need to be rolling directly into the spring. Well, the shock's the same way. I mean, if your car is rolling at this angle, you don't want the shock at this angle because then it's not rolling into the shock. So you definitely want to have them at an angle. Paul Berger, ask Chad, hey, since we got you on here, Paul, what was that question I was going to call Paul about? Remember?
I don't remember.
Oh, man.
Cool.
Anyway, okay. Ask Chad, since I'm working late to pay off my
Where's Bill?
Where's Bill?
Is
If
Bill
you're running a left rear jacker bar, what angle should it be? What the hell is a left rear jacker bar?
47 degrees. It's a joke, Bob.
Okay, I was going, okay, I can't wait to ask more about this.
Have you seen a jacker bar?
I've never seen a jacker bar. Way to go, Paul. You got me. I was sitting there going, because I told these guys, I said, I need to know more about these stock cars. I mean, they look relatively simple, but they're starting to look not so simple. And so I need to be paying more attention.
There are a lot of bars in Wisconsin. That's maybe why Chad didn't answer.
There you go. That's very, very possible. Just a second here. Nope, that's not it. Oh, this is it, the metric. So Paul, since we have you on here, metric stock car with a 9-inch and AFCO 74 series shocks, what's the good mounting distance from the rear end to the top mount on a stock car? So,
and we'll wait.
We'll wait for you.
Type that in there quick.
Yeah. You're funny, Paul. I can't wait for a week here. Burger? No, I'm not going there.
Fagan's live.
Yeah. Geez, even Pat's even listening. Anyway, while we're waiting for
2.5 inches.
2.5 inches. Now, is this a joke or is this for real, Paul?
He's talking from the distance from the housing out from the.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
That's thinking that's where he's going with that.
That makes sense. Come to Shawano, Wisconsin. I'll take yous to the bar around the lake.
Use guys. Speaking Scotty.
Yeah. They make famous fishing rods up there in the great state of Wisconsin. I actually got one to be here day after tomorrow.
Did you order a St. Croix?
Yeah, well, I actually have 3 of them already, but I got another one coming.
Attaboy.
They
Man,
just came out with a brand new one that's not going to be out till the middle of March.
I can't believe how you are really getting into fishing. This is
Well,
unbelievable. I can't wait to go fishing.
I got to have something to kind of regenerate my brain. Anyway, distance down is 4.5 inches. Good job, Paul. I appreciate that. Can't wait for a week and a half when we get Paul up here. We had a great time at the stock car school, I tell you.
And that's what I signed up for.
Yeah. Oh, you'll fit right in. Yeah. Shark and him. Oh, yeah. It was great. Anyway, can you explain the effects of running more caster in the right front in relationship to building traction? Well, Travis, what it does is, of course, when you counter steer the car with a little bit more caster, and I don't know if you're going to really see it be an advantage in your car because you're running a 4-link modified. A 2-link car, it's got a little bit of an advantage because when you counter steer with more caster, it tries to load that tire, which in turn tries to load the left rear. And we did quite a bit of that with the 2-link stuff. The disadvantage of running a lot more caster in the right front on a modified car is you get so much angle in your left rear bars, and then you get a bunch of caster in your right front, then the car kind of becomes a teeter-totter, and it's trying to jack. It gives you that jacking effect where it's like, should it be on the right front? Should it be on the left rear? Back and forth. So it can take a little consistency out of the car if you get too much. If you add a degree, it's not going to make a lot of difference. But, some guys believe that if you add 1, 2 should be better, and hell, 3 is going to be great. And that might be too much. Anytime. You have a great time down there in Texas. Make sure you take your snow clothes with you, Pat or Paul. My daughter's in the southern part of Texas, or my granddaughter's in the southern part of Texas now. And she was in Syracuse where it snowed all the time. So she moved to Texas. I'm like, look at what those poor people, you brought all this with you, this bad weather. What heck? So, hobby stock recommendations, getting the car to turn in the center. Like Cody, I wish I knew more about hobby stocks. It's kind of the same general thing. Can you help me on that?
I think so. I mean, the simple and the obvious would be to turning in the center would be a lot of things we've talked about in other classes and in the mods and everything else. Adding more stagger obviously is a simple one that a hobby stock guy can do, but he's on a set tire, so maybe he can't. And the other thing would be depending on if it's like an IMCA hobby stock or if it's, more of an outlaw where they have weight jack bolts. So, I mean, and then if they can have lead on the car, if they can't, there's quite a few things to get that answer to be correct. But, those kind of things, stagger, if you can do it, and some other things like that would obviously help the car turn through the center. And maybe less rear percentage, which would mean running less fuel, just things as simple as that.
Well, and that's one of the things that with having Paul at the school next week in 2 weeks, and Kelly, both of those guys have worked with some of the hobby stocks, and that might be a good idea. I was thinking when you said hobby stock, Cody, that you were meaning IMCA. You can't run lead. I hate to say it because I'm not trying to promote business here, but shock absorbers. Being able to do some of the things that you can do within the rules in the shock absorber area can be a pretty big help. We had pretty good luck with some hobby stock guys last year, and I felt that some of those things made their program a little better. So we're at 8 o'clock. No more questions. Anything else, Chad? You'd like to mention or anything?
Man, time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
did a product drop today. We can show that real fast. But these are a couple new little body mount tabs that were hood pin mounts. One was a Paul Burger and Innovation. and the other one mounts with a 1/4-inch bolt, and one has a 5/16 male thread on it. So a couple different options there for mounting hood pins. The marketing team dropped that today, and we got a new marketing team here, so we're doing kind of what you do with the winners, and we've started Wehrs's Winter Wednesday, and we want to know when you win races. So if you win and you got our decal on the car and you're using our products, the marketing team, they'd really like you to use that hashtag when you win, and maybe we'll feature you, and if we feature you, maybe you get some cool products from us. And so we're really making a big push in the marketing side of it, and having some fun. We just did a post about the scrap, how much scrap we produce here in a week last week, that had a lot of comments. We had a lot of fun with that. So we actually produced 5,418 pounds average the last time we went scrapping of chips a week. So it's pretty cool what happens here on a daily basis. So follow us on all the social platforms and do the hashtag Wehrsy Winter Wednesday. So that's about all I got.
So if you don't have any decals, I got Wehrs decals here for you, Pat.
I'll definitely dig some up.
Oh yeah, he just explained it to us, no doubt about that. Well, we got time for one more question. Advantage of
One more.
What? Two more?
One more, and we gotta go.
One more. We gotta go. Advantage of long or short lower trailing arms on a 4-bar car. When you start talking about longer or shorter, you're just basically, once again, you're talking about how things react. The shorter bar is going to react quicker. The longer bar is going to react a little bit lazier. So a short right rear bar, the lower bar is definitely going to react quicker. If you're running a short racetrack or a small racetrack, that might be a good idea. If you're running something that's big and fast, a little longer bar, so the reaction time slows down, probably wouldn't be a bad. But anyway, well, it sounds good. I appreciate you coming by tonight, Pat. Can't wait to have you here in a couple weeks.
We're looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. I'll do a shameless plug.
Trust me, doing a show with burgers.
And Kelly.
And Kelly.
So that's going to be fun. That's coming up less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks.
The 26th, 27th, am I right?
Yep.
So we'll do that. I'll do a shameless plug. In a couple nights on Wednesday, I'm going to do one of my Patgram Live on Racing Dirt. Be on their Facebook page. It'll be on my Facebook page, and that's just going to be a little bench racing, talk racing, fun. I do some stuff with those guys. So throwing that out there, and then I'll be at Bob's class helping out as much as I can with the rest of the peanut gallery that's involved. And hopefully I'll see Chad at one of these races too coming up. So no, I really appreciate it. This has been fun.
And our next live show is going to be March 1st. And we'll be back here March 1st. We're going to get to hear all about Chad's trip to California and hear about all the fun times we had at school and answer all you guys' questions if we can. So thanks again. We appreciate you guys. Like I said, we really do appreciate doing this show. We have a good time, and we appreciate all your involvement. And so we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. See ya.
Thanks, guys.